Hey everyone, it's finally time I review this series. I only reviewed the second one back in 2011, but I didn't really touch on the first one because I never owned it. But I am happy to own it on Blu-ray, and I love the edition I have. Halloween 35th Anniversary Edition. I'll probably uh, do a little bit of a review for the edition itself, but first I gotta get into the actual review of the movie. For those who don't know what Halloween is, if you're not a horror fan, uh, Halloween is a basic slasher movie. Like, there was Psycho, um, I don't know if you'd want to call it a slasher film, but When a Stranger Calls, the original When a Stranger Calls, not the remake. I do like the remake, though. Uh, Halloween, Friday the 13th, uh, Nightmare on Elm Street, Hatchet. There's just so many slasher films out there, but they this did something different. This was the first movie to really capture uh, an immortal killer, and pretty much it's about this boy, uh, well, man, but it starts off he's a boy. He doesn't get mistreated like in the Halloween remake of Rob Zombie's. Even though I do like it to some extent, that one was just a big fuck fest. Like literally everywhere you looked in that movie, there was a fuck here, a fuck there, a fuck everywhere. But this is rated R, and you don't hear. I think you hear damn, but this is rated R mostly for violence, but back then, this kind of violence was rated R material, but nowadays you could probably get this as a PG-13 film, which they're trying to do with Halloween 3, which this isn't going to be a sequel to the remakes, but rather a Halloween 3 with Michael Myers in it. And it's supposedly going to be PG-13 like the supposed Hellraiser remake. Hollywood, will you stop dishing out remakes of good movies and maybe remake a bad movie and make it good? Like The Blob. I do like The Blob original, but there's a lot of people out there who don't like it, but I liked it. They made a remake in the 80s, I think around 89, 83, hell, maybe even 1988. I'd have to bring this up to Matt at some point because uh, he's he's the one to go to when it comes to the Blob and the Thing and everything. Even though I know the Thing came out in 1982, this film came out in 1979. Nope, 1978. How could I forget that? And we get introduced to the movie with this epic piano score by John Carpenter. And everybody knows, even if you're not a horror fan, you still know the theme song of Halloween. It works better on a piano than a person actually did it. Uh, my sister has a faster version. It's more of a rock version of it. Not like the Halloween Curse of Michael Myers. Not that rock one, but just another rock version of the song. But anyways, nothing touches the classic theme song. And they had to put right there to get everybody's attention that this is the John Carpenter one, and it is the 35th anniversary because, hell, if I walked by this and didn't read the back or nothing, I would think that they'd put out Rob Zombie's Halloween on Blu-ray, but then I don't think Rob Zombie's Halloween is even close to being up to par with this. So, now we finally get into the review. It's about this one kid. We get first our opening credits, and then we get our opening scene, which a kid, we don't see his face at all. He's wearing a clown mask, and his sister just got done having sex with her boyfriend. We don't see it, we just see them making out and kissing and whatnot. But then the boyfriend leaves, and Michael decides, we don't know it's Michael yet, but I'm just going to use his name one time out of this review. He ends up walking up the stairs and into her room. She's naked, so I guess that gets an R rating. I mean, I don't guess, but it gets an R rating for nudity a little bit. Just a little bit. We don't really see anything because the scene goes by pretty fast. It's all done through a first person. He ends up stabbing and stabbing and stabbing her. And then he walks down the stairs real casually. And then the parents come home. And I'm dropping shit. The parents come home and they're like, oh my god. And this was back when acting in slasher films were fun. The parents are business people. In the remake, the mom's a stripper. Oh, the stepdad is pretty much freeloading. Why did you murder Halloween, Rob Zombie? I like your music. Hell, I like some of your ideas with House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. I haven't seen Lords of Salem, but I hope it's good. But anyways, doing a remake of Halloween wasn't good for you. It didn't give you a good image. Some people say that it's an abomination. But here's Halloween. Plain and simple, clear as day, no Halloween 2, no Halloween 3, at least not yet. No Halloween documentaries, nothing like that. But the critics gave this a really high score. And it deserves it, because it did. If there are other movies before this that have an immortal killer, leave your comments below, but it's got to be before the year of 1979. And Psycho doesn't count because Norman Bates was never shot or anything like that. At least I don't think. Hell, they made 4 sequels. Well, 3 sequels. But this isn't Psycho. This is its own movie. Granted, it's a slasher, so it's not in its own genre. And fast forward 15 years later, the kid is in a mental institution, has been for 15 years, and the Shape, as we'll call him, is 21. He's 21 years old, and what we didn't see in the beginning was he had a little sister. We're fast forwarding 15 years, so now she's like 16, 17. And this was the woman's first movie, and by the woman I mean the amazing Jamie Lee Curtis. This was in the time that I thought Jamie Lee Curtis was really pretty. Back when she made Prom Night and whatnot. Of course, I wasn't thought of in the 70s, but hey, I'm here now. I grew up on this stuff. We get introduced to our 4 leads. Sheriff Brackett, Annie Brackett, PJ Souls, who plays Linda, uh, and Lori. Oh, and how can I forget? Dr. Loomis, played very well by Donald Pleasance. He is sorely missed, by the way. Sad to think that his last movie was Curse of Michael Myers, even though that's considered an abomination. It's better than Rob Zombie's Halloween. Halloween 5 and Rob Zombie's Halloween. Rob Zombie's Halloween is better than Halloween 5, but that's not saying much. But John Carpenter was going for a certain style, and this wasn't even going to be called Halloween, but I think Mustafa Akkad ended up saying, you know what, we should center it around the holiday of Halloween. So they rewrote some parts of the script, and they made it feel like Halloween. And this movie feels like it takes place on Halloween. And it's a fun movie series to watch on Halloween. Go all the way from 1, 2, skip 3 because that's its own movie. 4, 6, Curse of Michael Myers, H2O, and Resurrection. Take out the first 15 minutes of Resurrection and you got yourself a really kick-ass movie, not just a regular kick-ass movie. But my favorite one is always the fourth one. If you asked me that in the comments, I'll say, did he watch the video? The HD transfer of this movie is really well done, but I got a little dingy TV. I'll try showing it off. Sorry, my bed's a little bit of a mess. See? I've got a little dingy TV, but it works. And the one out in the living room is an HD TV. So I'll watch this in the living room. And the picture is excellent. The sound is excellent, even though I don't have a DTS surround sound system. So, and we live in a small community, and I don't think anybody wants to hear Halloween at 5 o'clock in the morning. But this film is fun. The name of Jamie Lee Curtis's character is Laurie Strode, and she is just an average teenage girl. Well, in the 70s, average teenage girl. And she's just living life, being happy with her friends. And Dr. Loomis and Laurie Strode's characters, the characters end up intervening at some point, but not yet. So Laurie, Linda, Annie are just walking to their houses, and Laurie has to drop off a key. A key for the Myers house. And everybody's like talking about the Myers house like, oh, it's haunted, it's creepy. Don't go near it, it's evil. And for good reason. And it just so happens on this particular day, Halloween, the boy ends up escaping. Now a full-grown 21-year-old man escapes from the insane asylum. I'm gonna keep on talking about Rob Zombie's remake. In the remake, they show how he escaped. We did not need to know all about how the killer escaped. or how the killer was treated as a kid, or how the killer is this, how he got the mask. We didn't need to know all that. All we needed to know was this guy killed his sister and then went to an insane asylum. That's all we needed to know. We didn't need no backstory. Like, it gave a mystery. Like, who loves mystery in horror films? I do. You do get to see Mike. I almost said his name again. The Shape. You do get to see the Shape's face at some point. But I'm like, ooh, that's kind of odd looking. Because he's got big bulgy eyes. But this doesn't have very many flaws to me. We've got good actors, good characters. Like, I felt bad for Laurie. We've got this little kid by the name of Tommy Jarvis. Now I'm getting Friday the 13th caught in there. Which that movie is my favorite movie series of all time, but Tommy Doyle. I keep on thinking about Friday the 13th Part 4. I got to get around to watching that again. Anyways, Tommy Doyle, he's just an average little kid, believes everything he's told by bigger kids about the boogeyman and whatnot. And he's so scared of meeting the boogeyman that anybody who looks strange, he thinks, oh my gosh, that's the boogeyman. And we also, later on in the story, get introduced to a girl by the name of Lindsay. Now, Lindsay and Tommy aren't the biggest characters in this movie, but the original title of this movie was going to be The Babysitter Murders. And I think Halloween fits better. Granted, it's about killing the kid, or adult now, is killing off his family member and his family member's friends. And it just so happens that two of the friends are babysitting. And one is getting laid. PJ Souls is the one getting laid. The deaths, not really all that inventive, but they're really cool deaths. I like them. This movie doesn't need gore. I mean, Chris and Michael Myers had gore. Rob Zombie's Halloween had gore. But the Halloween movies are just those slasher movies that they don't need gore to keep us entertained. They're already keeping us entertained by the plot they have. Granted, Nightmare on Elm Street isn't known for having the best plot, but they're good plots. I like them. Halloween are known for their plots, and they're the trademark killer. But Halloween 5 did not have a plot, in my opinion. It was just Michael going around, stab. Walks up behind a person, stab. We've got a man in black, stab. The man in black says, go kill for me, stab. Just Michael having a stab-a-thon. Like, if it had a good plot line and it didn't kill off our favorite character, it could have been a good movie. But Dr. Loomis was a mean person in that movie. And anyways, Lori, Linda, and Annie are walking home to. Well, they're all walking home together, but what happens is they end up seeing this guy follow. Well, Lori sees a guy following them, and the guy keeps on following them, and then ends up hiding behind a gate. So she asks Annie, "Hey, can you go over there and look?" So Annie does, and here's where your humor comes in. The Annie character ends up saying, Lori, there's somebody here who wants to meet you. And so Lori goes over there, like a gullible person, and there's nobody at the gate. Nobody at all. So we're led to believe that Lori is hallucinating about men. Strange men, but men. And so they all go their separate ways. One goes to her house, the other goes to her house, and then Lori goes to her house after dropping off a key to the Myers house. And Tommy ends up bumping into Lori and says, "Hey, you can't go in there. You can't go in there. That's where the boogeyman lives." And she's like, "Oh, who told you that?" And then he says a kid's name, and then she's like, "Well, that kid was just trying to tease you." And so we get cut to the town and everything, and Sheriff Brackett. Uh, the sheriff is investigating um, a store robbery. They stole a mask and they stole some coveralls, not really overalls, but one-piece jumpsuit. And we don't see the mask, we don't see the jumpsuit. So we don't know what the killer looks like. All we got in our mind is the kid. All we got in mind to go on with this film throughout the duration of it is what the kid looks like. We know what he looks like, but what does he look like as a grown man? So, anyways, the Shape ends up having a grand old time cutting up people left and right with the plot. There's a reason why the Shape is doing all this. And it's an odd thing to have a plot like this of a man trying to kill everyone in his family and the person in his family's friends. And I'm like, it's weird when you stop and think about it, but it's entertaining. This is just entertainment. And I think the way the movie works is very well done. You don't see it in movies these days with a good plot, but it's got some kills in there. Name one horror movie that's not a remake and tell me if it had a good plot. And it's gotta be one that came to theaters. Not counting The Conjuring. Everybody loves The Conjuring. At least I'm alright with The Conjuring. Like, I actually watched it a couple days ago. And from what I'm told, a lot of people like it, so The Conjuring is doing something right. But, anyways, back on topic with Halloween. The Shape kills Annie herself, he chokes her in the back of a car. Well, he's sitting in the back and she's sitting in the front, and he takes something and strangles her with it, or he just uses his hands. We've got a stab right through the door, like the Linda's boyfriend ends up trying to fight off the shape, and what happens is he gets stabbed so hard that the knife goes right through the door, and then you just see the blood drip, 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 and then we cut to Linda, who is really gullible. There's some gullible people in this movie. Well, two. Tommy Doyle and Linda. Because she asks her boyfriend, "Oh, can you get me a beer?" And that's when we get her boyfriend's death. And the shape ends up coming in dressed in just a sheet, and she ends up showing her boobs. I didn't pay much attention to that part, but I don't even think you see boobs in this movie. Well, if there's nudity, which at the beginning there is a little, but the scene goes by so fast that you don't even notice it. And what happens next? He ends up handing her the beer, and he ends up walking over to her while she's calling bluray, and he strangles her to death with the telephone wires. So it's not all just stabby McStab stabs. What we've also got is Lori doesn't die or anything, but she does put up a good fight. And we've got the classic scene, well, at least in my mind, a classic scene, where she ends up hiding in the closet, and the shape ends up bashing through the door and tries getting her, and she pokes the shape in the eye or in the neck, I forget. In the eye, I think. And he's just bleeding. And we get to see the shape with his mask off for a little bit, and then as he's putting it back on, Dr. Loomis comes in for the rescue. And I know I didn't talk much about Loomis, Donald Pleasance, because if I talk about Donald Pleasance, we pretty much get spoilers. Like, we get the mystery taken away from the shape. It's still a mystery, but the best way to put Loomis is he's a doctor on a mission to kill his patient, the shape. And the shape ends up trying to stab Loomis, and he shoots him. He shoots the shape repeatedly 6 times, and he ends up falling to the ground. The shape's just laying there. And we cut back to Lori, and she asks, "Was it the boogeyman?" And Dr. Loomis, Donald Pleasance, says that one of my all-time favorite Halloween lines, "As a matter of fact, it was." And then we cut to the yard. The shape has vanished, and then we get Halloween 2. And I'm just like, yeah, that's how you do a horror movie. Same goes for Friday the 13th. Hatchet It's a good movie, but the plotline it's losing its plotline real fast. Mm. And then we've got Nightmare on Elm Street. So many good slasher movies from the 80s and 70s. This came out in 78. So many good old-fashioned slasher films. We get snuff films in the 70s, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We've got so many great films from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Well, not too much in the 90s, but there's a couple of good ones. 2000s, give or take. 2002, 2003. I think that's around the time Saw came out, and I'm like, we went from slashers, snuff films, fantasy horror, to torture porn. Why? You had such great horror genres, like I just said, but then you go to torture porn. We've got stuff now like Hostel, Hostel 2, Hostel 3, Human Centipede, full sequence. We've got other ones like a Serbian film, Mom and Dad. I'm like, 2007 had a really good year for horror. If I can grab it. "100 Tears." This is a good slasher film. Granted, it's plotless, but it's a good slasher film. Gory as hell, NC-17, and very great directing from Marcus Koch, whatever. Marcus, if you're out there, could you tell me how you pronounce your name? Because I don't want to be mispronouncing a person's name. 100 Tears, I thought was a great slasher film. There's a couple of other ones from 2007, but I don't have them. 2008, we get Midnight Movie. Oh, and how could I forget this? Zombie films. Classics. The zombie films are so classic. We've got House by the Cemetery, Seven Doors of Death, or The Beyond. The Beyond is better because it's all uncut. City of the Living Dead, not really the biggest fan. Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, both the remake and the original. And by remake, I mean the 90s remake, not the Sid Haig remake. We've also got other ones like Zombie 1. Well, Zombie 1 was pretty much Dawn of the Dead, but Zombie, as in Zombie 2, but they just erased the 2 and put it as Zombie. Zombie 3, Zombie 4, Zombie Flesh Eaters, I think that's actually part 3. Zombie Flesh Eaters 2, Zombie Flesh Eaters 3. Just so many good zombie movies out there, and yet we're succumbed by just mindless violence of today's torture enthusiasts. I am not one of those people. I'm 19 years old, and I grew up on stuff from the 70s. Like, most kids my age are like, oh, Texas Chainsaw 3D, it was scary. Oh, it was smart. Really? Really? They do not know how to tell time correctly. There's a huge difference between 40 years and 20 years. We've got a 20-year-old woman with friends. It's pretty much a teeny bopper film. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a classic. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is a great film to watch if you're into black comedy. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, never seen it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation can suck a dick. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003, fun film. Texas Chainsaw Massacre The Beginning is better than Texas Chainsaw 3D. And I like The Beginning, but it does have its flaws, especially the ending. The ending is one of the most far-fetched type of endings you'll ever see. Impossible ending. But anyways, I might as well go over the Blu-ray itself now. The artwork in the booklet is really good. I'm trying to find a good picture of John Carpenter in here. See? Right there's John Carpenter, the man with the plan. Hard to believe 3 years later he'd be doing the Thing remake. And that's a good remake. Damn good remake. If you want to know more, just type in Psychopathic 1, The Thing, or Halloween Edition Reviews number 2, The Thing. And then the booklet ends with the classic line, "Was it the boogeyman?" I love this Blu-ray. Comes with fun features. I saw the TV version footage. I laughed. The trailer, amazing. One of the most classic trailers I've ever seen. TV and radio spots, fun to watch. On Location 25 years later, I haven't watched yet. The Night She Came Home featurette, I haven't watched yet. And I have not checked out the commentary. But I'm sure all the features are fun. Do I say pick this up? If you're a Halloween fan, definitely. If you're a slasher fan and you aren't really a fan of the newer Halloween movies, pick it up. If you're a fan of the newer Halloween movies and you just worship the ground they walk on, check this out. It will make you change your mind. Because the originals are the best. Sometimes remakes can be better than the original, but not much. But anyways, this Blu-ray is amazing. I'm actually going to watch this movie again right now. So, hopefully you're all enjoying my Halloween Edition reviews, Season 2. Take care, and see you all tomorrow.